Hey, what's up with lifewithoutpants with another Path of Exile video, and it's been a while, but here we are with the 3.20 patch, and things are looking a bit, well, I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag. So let's go through by one. So the league mechanic, the actual forbidden sanctum, looks like it could be very rewarding. If you get very lucky, that means that the loot could be pretty spiky. I think perhaps free XP though, so maybe you're going to be used or abused by lots of people on their quest for level 100 because you don't lose XP when you die in it. So there's going to be, I think, a little bit of abuse perhaps, and that's okay. But I myself enjoy roguelikes a lot of the time, but I'm not very good at them, so I think it's going to be an interesting choice for me specifically. I think there's a new item slot, which finally we have a countdown stuff. Crazy that they could do it as soon as it was useful for a league mechanic. So that's going to be interesting. It remains to see how powerful that can be, although I think one of the mods that I saw during the reveal was 15% chance, or maybe 10% chance for melee hits to grant Fortify. So that seems like that could be particularly strong, but we'll have to wait and see. And I think the loot, again, it's another, just like Lake of Calandra, which was perhaps the least well received expansion of all time. It takes you out of maps, and that's everything that DGG seem to do is kind of building towards maps. Like all the Atlas passive skills, they're all, you know, for mapping. I mean, obviously there's a few for bossing, but the vast majority are all about maps. And this is another way for us to be taken out of maps, and I don't know how well that's gonna go. I really hope it's gonna be great. Obviously I want to have fun, so I'm hoping that it's gonna be good. It's I don't know how it's gonna go, but I think people are gonna cheese it. There's maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 people in the GGG QA team. There are millions of us, and so we will obviously find within a couple of hours ways to do something that even if they spent a year testing it, they would never find. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it becomes utilized, if it does at all, or if we're just going to start, you know, going to be another one where we just run straight past those mirrored tablets or whatever it is that gets us into the forbidden sanctum. So yeah, I'm going to wait and see. I'm hopeful. But yeah, not going to buy any supporter packs until we see, you know, the proof is in the pudding. On the rest of the patch notes, the patch notes will be in the description. Not many Ascendancy changes. Really thought after Calandra, they really thought they were going to pull something out of the bag or something big. Not many Ascendancy changes at all. Obviously, there are nerfs. So Inquisitor got nerfed with the Consecrated Ground effect. So Righteous Fire is going to be a bit, you know, taken off the top end. There's not that many skill changes either. Like, we really thought there was going to be some buffs, maybe to melee skills. We just got, I think, 8 Val skills, and some of them look okay. We still don't know the numbers on them, so obviously we're going to have to wait for those. Lightning Strike and Helix both nerfed. Not sure if they're going to be nerfed into the ground, but Helix was obviously a standout when it came to fizz damage, and I thought the point was that it feels garbage to play. That was the nerf. That was why you know, the only reason why you were playing Helix is because it was tuned high. And now it feels bad, and it's gonna play bad. So again, it's gonna go, you know, the way that steel skills went. They've been nerfed pretty much again and again and again. And now with all the unique gems being removed from the game, which is another thing, then it's gonna, well, we're gonna reduce build diversity significantly, and steel skills are gonna feel less good. You know, no Lord of Steel anymore. Lightning Strike got quite a haircut. Not gonna lie, I don't think my Lightning Strike character is gonna make it to the next league. I was strongly considering starting either Lightning Strike or Explosive Arrow. Explosive Arrow got away with almost no nerfs whatsoever. So Lightning Strike, I think, is going to be in the trash. The clear on it is going to be significantly worse now. I think you might be relying much more on Herald of Ice for clear with Lightning Strike, because you get that, you know, a pretty good clear with Herald of Ice. This is these things you can see in the background here. These are the charms. Is it charms from Diablo 3? Diablo 2 rather. And these just allow you to, you know, have a something that affects you all the time. The relics. But yeah, that's the new item slot. Lightning Strike, again, you know, the number of strikes in Lightning Strike has been reduced heavily, at least 50%, so it's going to be much more in a, you know, tight V rather than spread out over half the map. That's going to be very, very difficult to work with. And yeah, Spectral Helix, I think, it went from 160% effectiveness of damage to 100% effectiveness of damage, so that's quite the nerf. As far as hexes go, I think for my build, and all builds automating hexes through some kind of, you know, like a ring slot with hits cause flammability on hit with 32% increased effect. I think that's a Warlord mod. It does, you know, flammability, frostbite, those kinds of mods are available, and they all got at least 33% off the top end for clear, but for rare monsters, unique monsters, and it's going to be more effective. And the buff doesn't really feel good because largely we're not actually fighting that many rares or uniques, we're largely clearing. At least I am, because I tend to do mapping and not so much bossing. So maybe bossing builds got a bit of a buff, and mapping builds, which I feel like the majority of builds are, because GGG seem to hold up this idea of, you know, who's going to be, what is the average player like? It's somebody who's playing red maps. And I think they mean, they seem to infer that they mean Alkengo maps. And seeing Chris being asked in the live stream Q&A, which I'll also link down below. I think there's a VOD for that. That was one of the most awkward answers I think I've ever seen. It was just very slow, and it's not that, I think he was just thinking a lot about how to communicate, because there have been so many issues with communication from GGG over the last 3 or 4 months, because there's been a 4-month league. And I think that they want to, well, the loot nerf. Let's talk about the loot nerf. They're not going to do anything about it. There's going to be nothing done about the loot nerf whatsoever. It's not a nerf. This is a buff. The big historic loot nerf, they said was, you know, it doesn't really affect people in red maps, and I agree with that. And I think there's lots of racers. I think if you go and watch enough like Ben or Havoc or Tai, then they say every so often that, you know, that it's not that much of a nerf. This is, you know, they have their small tiny amounts of currency that they have in red maps, and they say, yeah, this is how much I've always had, and that's true, and that is not how I play the game. I juice a lot of stuff. Like for juicers, it's a huge nerf. So, and not just, I don't mean like Empyrean style, you know, 6-man party going crazy with, you know, winged scarabs and 100% deli. I don't mean that. I mean target farming divination cards. Like throwing in a polished divination card scarab along with an out, chiseled, and Vald map. That's what I mean. That we get a huge nerf for you know, that kind of playstyle, which I think is, out of the people that do red maps, you know, Alkengo, I think a decent amount of them are throwing in chisels, or, you know, throwing in sextants or scarabs, whatever it is. So for me specifically, it's definitely a big nerf, the loot nerf, and there's nothing going to be done about it. Oh, here we got Wrath of the Cosmos. That's nerfed as well. So Eldritch Altars are big nerf. We're not going to get that loot back, which is a shame. Obviously, the number of passives on the Atlas passive tree has gone up, I assume that the number of skill points we get will not go up, so we'll have to make more specific choices, but it seems like we'll be able to get more opportunities to say, I don't know, if you only want to do Abyss, then it seems like you're going to be able to get Abysses in many, many more of your maps in comparison to what you had before. Arch Nemesis is gone, which is like the biggest buff, but then again, in comparison to a year ago, it's not a buff because Arch Nemesis wasn't around then. So I think year on year, we're in a perhaps worse state. There doesn't seem to be, there's no plans to bring back Reforge keep suffix, Reforge keep prefix. There's a few extra recipes in the bestiary, but also bestiary multi-boxing is gone now because you will not, when somebody catches a beast, they will not everybody in the party will get the beast as well, so the quantity of cheap beasts on the market will go down, especially for imprints and for, you know, Fenimore Plague Arachnigan, Chimeral, those imprints and split beasts. Those are going to be much more, significantly more expensive. It's going to be quite impactful. Some uniques are buffed, some fizz weapons are very buffed, and that seems like it's going to be great, but they've also got a huge nerf to the rarity, so they're going to be gone as well. Onslaught is now treated as a buff instead of just Onslaught, so increased effective buffs will also affect Onslaught. We're getting Fracturing Orbs, which I think was the most used Harvest Craft, was Fracture 1 in 4. So these Fracturing Orbs, obviously they come with shards, no Divine Shards, but we're going to get Fracturing Orbs, and those are going to drop from Harbingers, so it might actually be worth using Harbinger right now. I think I'm certainly going to put it on my early Atlas and see how it feels, and then if I think by the time I get to my end strategy that I've got half a Fracturing Orb, or like, you know, a decent amount of one, depending on what they're selling for, I might keep it, I might put it in the trash. And I think the way that they're approaching it, they're really nerfing the top end, like the big money makers in Path of Exile. I think those people are getting the most significant nerfs. I think there's going to be much less super juicing, and that's what they're aiming for, is that it's a more, as we say in Swedish, lagom, a, you know, not too much but not too little either, experience for everyone. So it's a little disappointing if you're one of the people that is, you know, who is juicing a lot. I had I'm always very excited for League launch because it's, you know, a new economy, everybody's racing to get to the end game, and I find it a lot of fun. And I think the strategies I was going to use are they're definitely nerfed. 100% they're definitely nerfed. I mean, they're almost nerfed every league. Even though they said, I think I'm going to be doing some heist and expedition, even though they said there's going to be no change to heist and expedition, it's not direct nerfs, it's indirect nerfs. So that's going to be a bit of an issue, but Tainted Fusing Orbs are back to 50%. So it's all going to be fine. I think, yeah, the overall, the general game feel, I'm really surprised that they went so heavy-handed with the nerfs, even though, like, you know, this isn't very heavy-handed, but I'm surprised they went so heavy-handed with the nerfs after 3.19. I really thought they were going to attempt to dial it back a bit. I assume they have some goal in mind that I just don't know about, and that's fine. We'll see what happens on League launch, but as far as the actual League mechanic goes, I'm a little bit hopeful. I think it's going to be fun to figure it out and try to figure out how to cheese it. That's definitely going to be the most fun part. But yeah, I hope to see you. I'm going to put out a couple of build guides. I think maybe just a updated version of the Explosive Arrow one that I'm going to go through, and maybe the Hierophant deck stacking Siege Ballista. That one, I think there's very few changes to that one, so maybe I won't. It's just that so many unique gems jewels are no longer dropping. So, or they're just, I think the only two that it uses are Fluid Motion and Rain of Splinters. and those are corruption only options. So if you want to play that build, just I've got a build guide for that for 319, I think, and you can just use that and just corrupt every Crimson and Viridian jewel you find, and then it'll probably be fine. Explosive Arrow, honestly, I thought it was going to get gutted. I mean, everybody's been waiting for Lightning Strike to be, or Nightblade support to be gutted for 3 years or something. So it took a while, but they got around to it. Maybe Explosive Arrow is going to be amazing, but I was thinking of going Grand Design after some Infinite Heist. Maybe probably just doing a weekend of Infinite Heist, doing some blueprint strategies, and then running straight into doing Atlas, crafting gear, and then going Grand Designs for Expedition, depending on what the tree looks like. We haven't got the Atlas tree yet, so I'm going to wait and see. Maybe find out if the Atlas tree is good yet, or if it's conducive to a Grand Design strategy, because from the small bits that I've seen on in the reveal, there was a lot of longer travel to nodes, to notables. But there was one saving grace, which was a keystone that allowed you to throw in extra scarabs. So maybe your tormented scarabs, ones you don't care about, and they will add to pack size instead of having their effects. So that means that you would want to increase the percentage chance to have Expedition, and then you could throw some trash scarabs that nobody cared about and get increased pack size that way, and it would be still effective. So that's what I think is going to happen. Gonna wait for the tree to put out the build guide for Explosive Arrow, or what my League start strategy is though. And with that, I hope you're kind to everyone you meet. I love you all very much, and I'll see you on the beach on Friday.